There we go. I see it.
Okay, let me go back.
Share it.
Okay. Now I'm going to hit record.
Okay.
Hang on. We are actually live streaming, Glenn. We're just getting started.
Yes, on YouTube, we're already going live.
Okay.
I'm just
So,
sharing it on the old Facebook.
all right. Oh, all right. So now, Glenn, if you could just mute your audio and mute your video, and we'll be introducing you in about 28 minutes.
Okay. See.
Is that almost ready?
Facebook is up and running. YouTube is going. Let's get it so I can see it.
I love the glasses we got from the old Johnny Carson set.
Oh, I
here
know.
in Culver
Cheers to
City.
everyone out there. That really takes the edge off for some new thought.
Are you ready?
I believe I am.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing,
Yes.
where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
We wouldn't be there if that was not true. We wouldn't be here. So thank God.
I'm Darrell,
I'm Ed.
and we're broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland. Oh, we're in middle school studios.
That's right. That's right. And it's nice and muggy, just the way us surfers like it, as Darrell was saying. Today's show, we couldn't be happier. We have the perfect guest for today's show. He's a living embodiment of what we're talking about here. We'll get to see him during the second segment. The show is called Quit the Debating Society with documentary filmmaker Glenn Brewster. Are you prepared to keep your divine appointment? God is ever ready to offer you wonderful opportunities, new insights, and a real promotion in living. It's time to quit the debating society and move on to your greater good. Consider this. Shall I put my great thought energy into what I seek and admire? Or shall I give my energy to opposition and resistance of what I dislike? On this episode, Darrell and Ed encourage listeners to break free from wrestling with fear, doubt, and worry, and enthusiastically step out, believing that God goes before us, arranging things on our behalf. And during the second segment, documentary filmmaker Glenn Brewster keeps things rolling with today's reading, Divine Appointment.
Are we going to go right into our 3 breaths?
Yes, and I'll tell you why I thought of this for today personally is because I've been rolling along, and then I noticed some sort of anxiety. Couldn't put a finger on why I was feeling that way. And for a while, I was like, I'm not anxious about that. But then I had to realize that I was. I think I might have talked about it last week. But anyway, the thing was, we're always learning. We always have to grow in new ways. And some of those deeper embedded, like longer held ideas will go, you can't change me. And they'll encourage you just keep on, go look the other way. We'll still be here worrying, and don't worry, we'll take care of you, because there's fear under there that doesn't want to let go. But we have to remember. So, you want to just say briefly what it means to end the debate or quit the debating society, so they know what we're talking about?
Yeah, it means quit arguing against your good fortune.
Yes.
By filling your head with doubts, misgivings, because whenever something is intuitive or your heart's desire, the first thought is, wow, that would be great. I could see myself doing that. But that sometimes scares the old pattern that keeps us where we are right now.
Right.
You got to keep growing, or we just stay put.
Right.
So you have to have the courage to, or at least the ability to objectively realize that, wait a minute, that thought that's saying this is a bad idea, this isn't going to happen, what's the use, why bother, I'm fine where I am. Or worse, like some people we know, they really cement and justify why they're not
Yes.
living their heart's desire by making it seem virtuous in a twisted way.
Yes.
That's why, he stayed at his desk. He never, he had the opportunity to ride in the space shuttle, but, he just stayed at his desk.
Yes.
So we don't want to do that. We want to catch ourselves, because the things that are for us are easier to attain than we realize. The thing that makes it a struggle is when we're constantly debating, working against ourselves,
Right.
that prevent these things that are for us to materialize in our life. And it happens throughout our day. But then again, throughout our day, we have to constantly quit the debating society. We got great readings. Should I read one of the readings first? Because
I feel like we want to set the table because it's so important, because there's two things. There's your conscious mind, what are you saying now?
Yes.
And then there's your subconscious mind, which that's where you really got the rubber hits the road, when that subconscious mind starts trying to push us around, because it's all these fearful old ideas, and it feels like, oh my God, what's going on here? What is it? Florence Scovel shouldn't call it like the army of aliens of our past thinking, or someone else's thinking that got embedded in our consciousness. And so we need these principles and these understandings to know we're not going crazy. Like the principle is that God is always providing our good for us. So we're just working to open up to be receptive to it. And it's really a gentle process, but it doesn't always feel that way when the inner voices of our mom and dad or whoever it is yelling and going, oh no, go back, this is crazy. But the good news is
you'll never make a living doing that.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
You're crazy. What are you thinking? Because you're disrupting their apple cart, and like.
Oh, it's a horrible cart.
Yeah, so.
Rotten apples.
We want to disrupt that cart. And like Nancy Norman said, we want to be able to say with true authority, because we are, whether we realize it or not, our conscious voice is the authority in our life.
Yes.
And so we need to give ourselves permission to say, you know what? This whole line of thinking is a lie. There's no truth to it. I no longer have to respect it. I no longer have to keep a place in my heart or my house, a room for this to live. I'm kicking that lie out. I'm opening the doors and windows and letting the light shine.
And it comes automatically once I give up the debate.
Yeah.
The debate is always pointing out the negatives. We got great readings. So just to kick this off.
Yeah, kick it off.
We got a couple readings here, and then we'll do our 3 breaths so everyone's clear what we're talking about. And we got to remember, these things are true, and we remind ourselves of what's true. It helps us let go of those erroneous, fearful, doubtful voices. So this is from a book called 24 Hours a Day. It's a day-by-day reader. It's recommended by people who are in Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's strong enough for people who aren't. And it says, there is a force for good in the world, and when you are cooperating with that force for good, good things happen to you. Doubt poisons all action. Well, I don't know. So you don't do anything. You should meet life with a yes, an affirmative attitude. There is good in the world, and we could follow that good.
Yeah, and if you're hitting a sticky point, don't be afraid, because Raymond Charles Barker in this book says, and other teachers, I just happened to be reading this recently, where he was saying, it's good. Once you know there's a science to this, like how our minds work and how that affects our life, then when something comes up, you might not immediately rejoice about it, but maybe you have good friends, or you tune into Darrell and Ed, you remember this is a time to rejoice, because this is a new area where there's more good that we've been denying ourselves, that now is an opportunity to clear that up. It is never too late to clear this stuff up. And we realize once we're living this way, because we put an end to the debate society in our own mind by declaring and making a decision, right? And once we start to realize, wait, it's natural for me to be successful. It's natural. It's actually unnatural for me to keep hiding and beating myself up. It's become a habit, but that doesn't mean it's natural or native to who I am. So in The Power of Decision on page 184, this is, I don't know if it's the same in your book, Darrell, but this is a fairly common version that I have. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. And if you don't know yet, we live stream on YouTube Saturdays, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. in Missouri. And you can watch the episode being filmed, and you get to see some bonus footage before and after in the middle of the show.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so Raymond Charles Barker says, the success-prone person needs all his emotions creatively supporting his decision. He cannot afford negative emotional diversions. And for me, folks, that means I've been cutting out YouTube, news, people just yelling about stuff, even sports, like stuff that has nothing to do with me. He cannot afford negative mental, emotional diversions. He must stay on his course of constructive thinking, backed up by a healthy, constructive attitude. He makes certain that his mind is not weighed down with anything which interferes with his steadfast, correct thinking. To be success-prone, you need faith in yourself, faith in other people, and a generally healthy mind. You need to be up to date in your thinking and optimistic about your future. And remember, optimism comes from optimum, which just means taking the highest and best attitude and outlook and perspective on your life.
There's no progress without optimism.
No, the pessimist weighs himself down with his false expectations of disaster. And believe me, I am a recovering pessimist. This morning I had to recover again. He is missing the whole point of living, and most certainly he is missing the real joy of being alive. He is an excellent illustration of how not to use your mind. This is important too. The infinite has no negative emotions. It has no hidden fears, resentments, or frustrations. Its mood is always creative. Its thinking is always clear. As you affirm that mind to be your mind, you release its creativity as your creativity, and great things happen.
I should read this next one because this really is I turned this, what I read this morning. No, I read this last night. We recommend reading 2 pages a night from any of your books you enjoy. Could be one of the ones we recommend. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
But something that talks about these ideas, because it gets into your subconscious and it turns out to really be helpful in the days ahead. So this is also from The Power of Decision. I read this last night. In your subconscious mind is the creative process of the ages, the process which every successful person has used. Mm-hmm. It cannot refuse to service you. It has no favorites and it knows no limitations. It awaits your demand that it act. Upon your demand, it proceeds to fulfill this demand without stress or strain. That's the key. There's no stress or strain once we decide what it is we would have be. Decide upon something, situation, or condition that you want right now in your present life. Be definite in this decision. Do not limit your decision by investigating the probable reasons why it will never happen.
Wow.
That is the detour to nothing. You do not need to know how the final result will come to pass. That is the function of the subconscious. It has ways and means, which ways and means methods and resources that, if they were known, would stagger the intellect. Say to your subconscious, this is my decision. I now authorize you to accomplish this. I have total confidence in your abilities and resources. And here's the key. Then relax and let your subconscious have free rein. Keep clear of all doubt. This is our only job. Once you make that decision and get excited about something coming to pass, our only job really is to keep clear of all doubt, keep clear of all worry. God, in your subconscious, as your subconscious, is the power and the mind that accomplishes your desire. Let God be God and keep your hands off the process. Your subconscious will reveal to your conscious mind directions to take and ways to proceed. Idea will follow idea in perfect order and sequence. You will become the observer of the creative process now taking place in you. From the observation point in the conscious mind, you watch what you wanted to happen. You are under no strain. You are the observer and the participant. And it's funny. Well, I took that upon myself because I've been concerned about some things. So I go, okay. And once a concern gets in your brain, if you don't treat it, it like lingers there, burrows in.
Yes, which is leading into our breaths as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, so then I'm in the debating side because my mind starts figuring out how to make things happen, or it's going to be an uphill battle. So
Right.
I turned what I just read there into a 3-step process.
I love it.
And the 3 steps are: 1, treat the concern. I mean, forget about what you're trying to bring about, whatever type of issue it is. Let's just treat my scared thoughts about this,
Yes.
forgetting what I think is causing it. So treat the concern. Then give your subconscious its marching orders. What do I really desire are the marching orders. Then let God be God while you optimistically know miracles are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I was concerned about.
Well, I'm going to repeat that. So you're going to treat the concern.
That's number one.
So that's what you're going to unhook from whatever's really bothering. And a big part of this is admitting that something's really bothering you. Since we're all still convincing our minds that this stuff works, that first step is really important: to treat the concern, admit you have a concern, to slow down, give yourself some love, do some self-forgiveness, forgive some other people. Then give your subconscious mind your marching orders. So what I heard you say is,
yes,
what do you really want? Like, what do you desire? Where do you want to go? Even if it's just a shift in feeling, how do you want to feel, right?
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah, because we have 2 choices. This is the debating society. It's in the description. The debating society is, shall I put my great thought energy into what I seek and admire, or shall I give my energy to opposition and resistance of what I dislike?
Right. So then you're going into joyous, then you're going to let it go.
Let God be
joyous
God.
Expectation, and let
Yes.
God be God. That's where you got to remain optimistic.
Yeah, and
just long enough to start seeing proof.
And you start getting proof.
You start getting proof.
So one of the things.
And now that now that you've, see, we're doing something that we can all do to actually tune our mind into this joyous expectancy so that we can receive the results. So this is great. All right. Go ahead.
So one of the things that's been on again, off again is my car is a lease. The lease is coming due in March, so it's not that close. We're recording this in the beginning of July, so I got plenty of time here.
Right.
My miles will probably end up going over, but I'm not too concerned about that either. However, this car burns through brakes in an unrealistic way.
Yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah, only the rear. So they have not been able to resolve that. Otherwise, I'd keep this car. It's a fine car other than that, but it's just, if they can't figure it out, I don't want to deal with it anymore. So I'm thinking about turning in and getting a different automobile. Well, whenever you talk to a car dealer, if you're not in a sober state of mind,
right, it
can be frustrating because there's one price advertised. You get there, oh, that was this, but we got this and this and that. So this morning I said, that's it. I'm going to take the concern about this. No more. I'm not even going to feel any more concern about this. I'm just letting that go. What do I really want? Well, what I really want is a car the same, not more than what I'm paying now.
Right.
And that's really what I want. And once my mind starts engaging and stop concerning that that's a difficult thing to have, because my mind up until this morning was going, yeah, they said this, but then you get there and then it's like $30 more than the advertised price per month.
Right.
So I just had to throw all that out, just jump on board with, okay, this is what I would love. This price, different car, and let it go. Well, I get an email the other day that I didn't look at, advertising the car, the next option for me for a car that's affordable in this range.
Right.
that still, when you talk to them, jumps up considerably when it comes to like time to like pick it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of deceptive.
No, I get it.
So that causes angst. So the paperwork came, the email came, and it said a price on there with 4,000 down. You get this price per month. So I go, okay, Darrell, let's just divide for 36 months. Let's divide the 4,000 in 36 months. I add it to the monthly price, and I go, holy cow, that's what I'm paying now. So see that as, remember, we're looking objectively, and I go, oh, this is signs of land. And I now am disregarding those ideas of, yeah, but they're not going to give you that. Nope. And the lady I received the email from was the lady who's doing animal photography and is a fan of Lori's work. And she was going to be leaving VW. But I guess
you had that tire experience.
Yeah, so I guess she's limping on, a few more months. Because I go, let me text her and see. Yeah. And I said, are you still with VW? Because I got this email. It looks like it came from your VW account. And she said, yeah, I'm going to be moving to the one that's actually closer to my house, the dealership. And she says, well, what are you interested in and when? And I said, well, I saw this deal. Can we do it as a 0 down instead of putting the 4,000 up front? I said, it's the same amount of money, and I just sent it off and let it go. Now, I'm not going to hear from her during the show because we're using my phone as the camera, which is a good thing. But see, this footwork and feeling this way is, now I just feel like I'm in that zone now, that my subconscious is in a happy place and working on it. Whether or not this occurs to be the remedy or not, I can feel now I'm in that good feeling vibration.
Yeah.
And honoring these now, the signs of land. This all just happened. I literally wrote those 3 steps in one of my morning reading books around the year with Emmett Fox after remembering it from last night.
Yeah.
Subconsciously it was in there. This stuff is incredible. And Ed, share your story about forgetting to get pizza. Because another, how our intuition is always working on our behalf.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when you were doing that reading. Can I say this too before, keep me to that. But what you were just saying about the car leasing, like 9 years ago was when I first started visualizing I was driving old cars that my rich in-laws were selling me, and at a high price,
higher than you would have bought from a car dealer.
That's right. But my wife, I was practicing this stuff, and Darrell was helping me to see, like, hey, man, you belong in a better car. So, but I had no idea how does this stuff work, and so I had to do all the steps we're talking about. But when he's talking about like taking that down payment, $4,000, and putting it into the lease, it's not a magic. You're just saying, what's $4,000 divided by 36?
Yeah.
And then just add that number to the lease. So now you're paying the same amount, but it's just spread out. It's actually very practical. And the thing to remember is salespeople, unless they're reading Emmett Fox and they're like really into what we're talking about, they'll make it seem like you're the one who's desperate for the car.
And you're a criminal if you don't go along.
But all of that's a lie. The moment you take, the moment you regain your authority, which just means what do you want? And
I'm not trying, and I also want to be clear. I hope you're realizing in what I'm doing here, I'm not trying to be a weasel.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to undercut them. This is the advertisement. Can we do it this way instead? It's still the same amount of money I'm paying.
Totally. And there's also this misnomer that a lot of us may have experienced if you were like me, you misinterpret. Well, like I used to misinterpret that me saying what I want was trying to manipulate someone, but it's not.
It's not.
If I'm clear about what I want and I'm willing to take it or leave it, that's my authority. That is, I have the right to do that. And by getting clear on that going in, that's how my wife and I ended up leasing 2 cars originally. and then leasing another one with, I ended up buying these 2 cars. I've talked about it before, for $1,000 down on each. We bought 2 new cars. And this is 2 people, my wife and I, who were always like, how do you have that much money? But I didn't realize it was much easier than that old, it was really an ignorant line of thinking. But, thanks to Fazaro here, Darrell, and these principles, now I am in drive new cars, and you can do it too. So it's important, because the thing is, you're engaging in the creative process instead of just sitting there like feeling like your hands are tied, because you're not. Your hands are never tied. When you live this way, our hands are never tied, because you have the ability to shift your thinking, and all your shifting is into alignment with who you really are. So this morning, I've been going through this like crazy shifting of everything, because I'm like moving away from trying to control so much with my conscious mind, and not listening so much also to the subconscious fears, because I'm clearing out certain new areas for me, because I realized in order to move forward, like with my career and such, it was just a simple thing. I realized any other thing, right? I would be open to new ideas. Right? If a good idea came, I would take it. I realized in the area of career, I had so much subconscious stuff built up in finances that not only, like my subconscious mind was pushing away good ideas. And so I just like Raymond Charles Barker said, I got to look at this as an opportunity. I don't exactly even know consciously where it's coming from, because I'm so used to thinking that way, but I'm going to like go on a mission to figure it out and start making some new decisions. And now it's starting to happen. So today, and it's just changing my thinking. I'm starting to be less burdened by trying to keep everything organized in my brain. And sometimes it feels weird. I feel like almost like I'm going crazy a little. So today, Darrell and I usually have a couple slices of pizza from a restaurant that's in between my house and here. So I pick them up, right? And I get in my car to come over here, and somewhere in between, like 10 minutes earlier, Darrell and I talking about, I'm going to get the pizza, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm going to pick it up. I get in my car, forget totally about the pizza, and I'm just enjoying a song that we're gonna sing later on the radio about let the good times roll. I'm just carefree. And then for some reason, this little voice in my head goes, why don't you turn down this street? And then I'm like, well, that's not usually the way I go to the freeway, but I'm carefree, let the good times roll. I turn right. And I happened to turn down the road that goes to the pizza place. And I go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to get pizza.
But this is the way it works.
Yeah, by letting it go, there's more. This is what.
When we let go of all these fears and concerns, our mind starts, you'll see how our mind, even if we don't know why we have a hunch, it's leading, it's caring for us. It really is watching out for our best and making our desires occur.
That's right. When we start telling our subconscious mind that it's trustworthy, it starts acting trustworthy. When we doubt it and we're still caught up in all that old, or it's doubting itself, all that stuff, then it works against us, because that's what it's been programmed to do. It does whatever it's programmed to do. So once we start showering it with love and joy and giving it marching orders, miraculous things start to happen. It's so funny. I asked you if you had a Kirky, and I have a Kirky postcard. If you want to send us something, go send it to P.O. Box, funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Kirky sent us this card. You can see, I'm not even going to read on the, well, no, it says, your voice is like music, and it's me playing a flute in the nude on the front. Just a drawing, mind you. And but Kirky says, this world, well, Kirky gave us a quote from, what's that, Karen Casey. This world is a product of our minds. If our outlook is brooding and bleak, the ego is inflated. If our outlook is hopeful and loving, we sense that Holy Spirit's presence in our lives. We can move from one side of the mind to the other at will. This makes the world our choice. Wow. We have that choice. And I have
3 breaths.
We have the 3
Before
breaths.
we do.
Yeah, 3 breaths. By the way, let me just say this while we're talking about this, people sending us stuff. Michelle Marie texted us and said, hey, Ed and Darrell, thank you for Unity Orlando, Reverend Bob and Paul. It's my birthday, and I really needed to regroup my soul listening to their services today.
Oh, wow.
Such a real gift from God via discovery of them from your show. Thank you, and love to you both. Best holiday weekend to to you. Have fun. Darrell and I's birthday is also, mine's on Monday, the 8th, and Darrell's is on the 10th. So we're all celebrating with you. Patreon folks, thank you for contributing to this show.
We got a new Patreon
We got a
member.
new Patreon this week.
Yes, Cece.
Yeah, Cece, thank you. And it really helps this ministry keep on rolling. So thank you to that. And then we got these breaths. How long have we been on for? Yeah, perfect. So we'll do the breaths. Maybe I can read this last little bit from this great book I just got. But let's take a deep breath. It's never too late to end the debate.
It's never too late to end the debate.
It's
Never too late
to end the debate. This is, I was in a...
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that, Jet? No, that was Angels.
But that does remind us, we should thank Jeff Comfort.
Yeah.
He's our chief audio engineer out there in Kansas City, Kansas. And each week...
If you're listening to this, it's thanks to Jeff Comfort.
Yeah. Each week.
He takes us
right into the comfort zone. All right. So I was driving home last week, and I think it was after the show, and I had that nice feeling of, I have nothing to do, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I saw a Goodwill. My wife and son are into thrifting and thrift shops and such, and I never thought of, was good at it, but now once in a while, if I'm just buy one, I'll just walk through. No pressure to find anything.
Yeah, that's the fun of it.
See if anything jumps out. So I'm looking around, then I look at these books, and I'm like, I think those books came from us. We donated a couple of them. So I'm looking at those and thinking about that. I'm wondering. And then I see this book. If you're looking on YouTube, you can see it. If you're just listening, it is called Scientific Mental Practice, and it's by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and it has a really old picture. And she was the teacher of teachers. She taught the Fillmores, Florence Scovel Shinn, Ernest Holmes.
There wouldn't be no 12-step programs if it wasn't for her, because she was the one who really started helping make these spiritual concepts make sense and practical, as a practical way to apply this stuff to our thinking. That transforms our lives.
Yeah, and these books come at the perfect time. Raymond Charles Barker's been with me for a little while, and now I just could tell, it's time for me to learn about Emma Curtis Hopkins. I was never able to, for whatever reason, access it in the past or whatever. It just didn't speak to me, but I found this book, and I've been using the method Darrell and his mentor, Mike Dugan, talk about, which is just read a page, two pages.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Because that's
how I read those last night.
That's how I read Power of Decision and May Rowland's Dare to Believe. And this book would intimidate me in the past. It's, it's 270, 80 pages long, whatever it is. But I don't care about getting through it. I just want to get to know the teachings. And it's very actually down to earth. If you read it slowly and don't try to take it all in at once, it's really amazing. And one of the things that blew my mind and helps end the debate society is to realize that your good, the good inside your heart and your desire, is God.
Yes.
And we've said it a million times. I can hear it, Darrell talking about it in the past. But it's the right time for me to read this again. And she says, the first lesson finds out what your mind is seeking and names it. Can you name now just exactly what your mind is seeking? You would soon be set on the right track for finding what you are seeking if you name what you want. And she keeps it simple. It is the foundation thought, even in the minds of insects. She's talking about all of nature has this, which is, it is the good. The good which you and I want governs everything you do. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that you don't have to struggle to attain or put your energy into. It's like us with the show. We put a lot of time into it, but it doesn't feel like that because we're just doing what we want. It's our good.
Yes.
Therefore, the good which you are seeking is your God. She says, the acknowledgement that I am seeking my good and my good is my God is telling a simple truth. It's so simple. The tiniest child can say, I am seeking my good and my good is my God, because it draws and pushes us and moves me on. And then she says, when you speak for yourself, this is the beauty of it. This really changed my life. When you speak for yourself, you speak for the world. This is like when you go in front of the dealer or it is the one chord to which, if you speak it, all of nature will spring free. There will be no oppositions to that truth when you speak it. You can name your good as free health, and all of nature will say amen. If you proclaim the good you are seeking is free health, nothing wants its health interfered with. It wants unlimited health.
I got something to read, folks.
Right on.
This
and then
was-
we'll take it to the break.
Yes,
after that.
this sums all this up. Think about this, what I'm going to read. Take this in, because this is saying the same thing in a way. Like, what do they mean, chase my good? But what if my good is something that's not good? What if it's smoking cigarettes? Well, obviously, you know that's not your good, or you wouldn't have this silly thought about it. The good is this: conscience, your
Yes.
conscience is our higher power working to steer us toward our authentic life.
Yeah.
Just like Ed's experience with the pizza. Yeah, you go, well, that's silly. That's just pizza. No, but that's all part of the good.
Yes.
The good we desire moment by moment.
Yes.
And it's always something delightful and positive. And this goes with everything. And ideas will come to mind that feel good.
Yeah.
Like for myself, seeing that ad, and if I had read that before doing my morning routine or saw
Right.
that ad, I'd be like, ugh, I don't even want, these people are no good. You know, the
Right.
dealers, they're just trying.
Yes.
But I didn't. I looked at it. I thought about it from a higher perspective. I said, well, let me just do the math. $4,000 down plus this a month. Let's see what it comes to. It's that simple. And I delighted in that idea.
Yeah.
And something inside me was already anticipating
Yeah.
that the answer was going to be better than expected,
Right.
which it was.
Right.
So our conscience, that thing that says, go this way or go that way or try this. The debating society is when I start second guessing that.
Yeah.
Because if I just don't second guess that, well, it's always working to steer me towards my authentic life.
Yes. And even if you're smoking and you want to smoke,
I
start
didn't mean that to
Yeah. No, but but it's an important point, which is this, because a lot of people, this stuff is principle. Like, God doesn't judge you no matter what
That's
you do.
right.
Remember that. So, and if you start loving the part of you that wants to smoke, start asking that part of you,
Yes.
like, why are you smoking? What do you want? Start to get to know, maybe underneath there, you'll find a healthier drive and start to
Yes.
love whatever it is. Because a lot of us have grown where we were shamed for things, and we need to also be very loving and kind to ourselves no matter what. Like, you can't lose with the stuff we use, to quote Reverend Ike.
Yes. And just to be fair, the only way I stopped smoking was because I didn't make it an angry thing that I had to give
Yeah.
up. I was even doing my morning routines when I was in the Coast Guard with a cigarette and a coffee.
Yeah.
Because you can't punish yourself out of
That's
a
right.
bad habit. You can only image yourself, meaning imagining
Yeah.
the new thing you want to be doing, the
Yeah.
thing you desire. Imagine what you desire more, and all those things that you thought you ought to give up or ought to be doing, that's naturally going to start happening.
Yeah. You know, when we're talking about this, it just occurs to me. We probably, if we have a habit that doesn't serve us fully, we probably developed it because we were being punished.
Yes.
As a method of coping with some sort of punishment, which we then internalize. So punishing ourselves out of it,
It doesn't work.
while you might get a temporary shift in behavior, it doesn't work.
No.
It will come back. We need to stop punishing ourselves and move beyond all of that into like a brand new recognition here and now of who we really are and have always been, and drop all those old stories that led us to make bad choices and celebrate life, man. You got to let the good times roll. God right now is letting the good times roll. So how do I get myself on board with that? And the first thing, end the debate. No, it's true. End the debate. Your good is possible. I'm with you there. I'm learning in new ways.
Me
and
too.
we're all learning, and we all benefit from blessing each other and inspiring each other. So coming up next, documentary filmmaker Glenn Brewster keeps things rolling with today's reading, Divine Appointment. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios in Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
And now Mr. Brewster can unmute his mic and unmute his video.
Brewster's Millions.
Hey-o.
I
Hey,
can't
hey.
believe that. It's funny because that movie was based on Glenn, but they got Richard Pryor to play Glenn
I
Brewster
know.
in the movie.
That was one of the only positive movies that was on HBO early on. I would like if I was sick at home from school. or something.
Brewster's
I
Millions.
watched it many times, oddly enough. Are we going to keep going or are you going to go tinkle?
Yeah, I guess you could tinkle.
All right. So, Glenn, can you do some stand up for like 2 minutes while we.
No, this is going to be quick.
No, I'm just kidding. But we'll be right back. Then we will
Yeah, no
start.
problem. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Just know that the YouTube crowd is watching you.
Oh, hey, YouTube crowd.
Okay. All right. Let us roll. Let the good times roll, Glenn Brewster. We're going to have some fun.
Right on.
This is Middle School Studios.
I love it. That's great.
Don't you love this new piece by Darrell behind us here?
I was admiring that. That's fantastic.
It's a tourist.
So good.
But he's taking a selfie.
I have a piece of artwork by Darrell hanging in my living room. It says,
That's
"Be here
true.
now."
My mom used to say I was a real piece of work.
Are you ready?
All right. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome back to our podcast listeners. Today, our show is called Quit the Debating Society with freshly minted documentary filmmaker Glenn Brewster joining us for this segment. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to be here. Thanks, guys.
Are you still posted up in the downtown Alameda?
I am. Yeah, Alameda is home.
What is it? The heart of Oli's Waffles over there? What do you call that place?
Yeah, Ollie's Waffles. Yeah, that's still here. It's going strong. Every time I go by there, there's a big crowd, at least in the morning, line out the door.
We were living there when my son was born. I have fond memories. I guess not fond enough because shortly after that, I was like, I got to get back to LA where I feel at home. And But no, it was a nice time out there. So we always like to, well, we do like to ask, have you had any thoughts bubbling up since you've been sitting in the green room listening to the first segment?
Yeah, I was wondering if I could share a little story.
Yes.
It's some of my experience. When I was in my early 20s, I was suffering from anxiety, depression, and I was going through a hard time. And I joined a 12-step group, and I was able to find a higher power there. And and I was also going to school, and I was trying to you know, better myself too.
Right.
And having a higher power really helped. And I met a guy there. It's kind of a bummer, but it turned out to be a good thing. This guy, he was telling me about his church. That was cool. It was totally cool. I was like, great. And he asked me what my religion was. And I said, well, I have a higher power of my own conception that I'm working on. And he said, you can't do that. And it messed me up. It messed me up.
Uh-huh.
But the good part is, I remember this is in Schenectady, New York. I was driving home from uh, college, and I stopped at the stoplight, and I was just crying my eyes out. And I just remember just screaming, like, God, are you even there? Do you even care about me? And right when I said that, the traffic was going by. I was at the stoplight. Traffic was going by. I saw this truck, and I have a model of the truck now. And this truck drove right by. Um, not this truck,
Whoa.
but a big, the real version, guaranteed overnight delivery truck. And I saw that, and I was like, it really made me feel like, there is a God, and He is definitely looking out for me. And later on, how this relates is someone that told me to resign from the Baiting Society, and it really helped me a lot because that guy can believe what he wants to believe, but what I believe is what's working for me, and that's cool. And I don't give people hassles about what they believe, and I believe what I believe, and that is what makes me happy. And I don't have to believe if someone says I'm wrong. I don't have to go there. I'm just like, okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna move on now.
Right. Right.
Well, that's why I love all these books we read and this approach, because even Jesus didn't say you had to believe in a specific religious God. He was like the first to say that, even though the church built around him became that way. It became the antithesis of what his teachings were. But that's what's great about, you know, America being born out of these ideas, first of all, because there would be no United States of America if the founding fathers weren't becoming introduced and curious about these ideas originally through Swedenborg, which was the beginning of it, and then the Masons, the Freemasons, which was again not a specific, that we don't care what religion you subscribe to, what type of religious dogma or theories you have about God. However, we do recommend that you believe whatever that God is, in order to work, it will provide for your personal needs, that you could rely on it for your personal good. And that's why the United States can have freedom of religion, because the understanding is it doesn't matter, because it's all really fundamentally the same. The only time it becomes a problem is when we get like the person you're describing that you happen to come in contact with. If I become more adamant that you have to believe as I believe, or we end up getting confronted by someone like that. But really, the theory was with the United States, hey man, if everybody is living with their own understanding of God, and it's pretty much becoming more and more obvious that God is love. So if everyone just cooperates with that within themselves, we can have a society where we can prove, we can demonstrate that man can be free
Yes.
and doesn't need a despot or a monarchy or even in communism, a controlling body to tell it what to do and how to do it. That if man is given freedom and can identify with this spirit within, which is good and loving, and operate from that through his intuition, or like I just read, our conscience is always steering us in this good way. Well, then hell, man, everyone would be happy, and I love you, man. You're my brother. It really is incredible. I mean, thank goodness that we're where we are, and we have the books we can read, and it's available now to everyone everywhere around the globe.
You mentioned once on your show something that really stuck with me, and I know it's a quote by Marianne Williamson. At least I believe it is. And it's, what is it? Fear condemns and love forgives. And
No, you know where that's from? That is actually in A Course in Miracles.
Oh, it's A Course in Miracles. Okay.
Yeah, fear condemns, love forgives.
Yeah, well, Marianne Williamson was like, that was her,
yes,
what she studied and shared a lot from the Course in Miracles. That was like the foundation of a lot of what she teaches.
yes.
When you said that, it helps me so much when people, are disagreeable, I'm able to recall that, and be able to say that. And I was like, do you want to condemn or do you want to love? And I'm just like, I want to love. I don't want to hate.
Right. Yeah.
I catch myself in traffic when I start condemning this I go, Darrell, that's fear. Love forgives. So, okay, I'm going to forgive this. And I start going, okay, let it go. And it gets me back. It gets me back cooperating with the good.
Yeah. Yep. And I think what the founding fathers understood is that it's principle.
Yes.
That's kind of
key.
What you're getting at here is that it's not just like a flight of fancy.
No.
So there's principles governing everything. And I think at its core, every religion or every science included, philosophy, it's trying to find what are these principles that underlie everything. And anyone who studies this, even if they start out what they think of as atheist or scientist, scientists typically, if they really follow their trajectory, will become spiritual because all of a sudden you come face to face with what is a mystery, which is where does this, like, at first you're like, this leads to this, but then you're like, but what leads to all of it?
Yes.
Like, how is all of this happening in such, the word universe means, we learned from Charles Fillmore, means one song, universe, one song. So like, the most scientific term, the universe, means one song. I was thinking about this, like how artists, if you do your art, it becomes a science at some point, like, or you see the science to it. And if you're a scientist, it becomes an art at some point, because you see the art with, you see the creativity woven within it all. And so knowing that there's these principles, I was talking to my wife and son, like, something that changed the trajectory of my life, among many things, was this realization that a lot of times when people quote people, they choose the time in their life that they're basically already reaffirms what they believe, and they'll write off other parts of their life. But I always like to look at, like, where did they end up? In their pursuit, what was the end? And oftentimes that is not very popular, like Malcolm X going to the Mecca and realizing, whoa, there's people of all color that are Muslims, like, and he retooled his whole philosophy.
Yes.
And Einstein, like, everyone, like, so I like
and also learning that it was centered in love.
Yeah, it was centered in love,
not hate.
Yeah, I mean, that's one example that I studied when I was in college, and it's just, I just realized people like to pick and choose, but I like to look at the whole scope of their life. Like, where did they end up? And why don't I just see about going to the end? Why don't I benefit from their whole life of learning and go to that? And you see that, like, kindness, even the most angry people when they're younger, like everyone, like, they think they're on a warpath, but then they come face to face with, whoa, it's love. Love is what governs the universe. Love is the truth behind all of this stuff. And so we just want to cut to the chase. I don't want to waste my whole life fighting.
No, it's everywhere. Guys, there's a quote. I don't know which scientist said it. I don't know, but it's been said. I'm sure if you dig into Google, you'll find it. But it's a little bit of scientific knowledge will make you an atheist.
Yeah.
But if you continue, you'll be a believer.
Yeah.
Meaning they all come around to go, holy cow, this
Yeah.
is all connected.
Yeah.
It's all one.
And the reason that the thing that triggered it based on what you guys were saying was once you realize like love is a reality and it does not condemn. Like it is the truth of my being and it is not condemning anyone. Fear is just a misunderstanding of who I am, is this belief in lack, which is not even real. And that part of me, out of terror, will condemn other people. So I get to choose.
Holy mackerel.
And it's a real choice. But the only way to know this stuff is to take it into the laboratory of your own life. Because I used to be swayed so much by the opinions of others. And, you know, I tried to jump on, find the one out there that worked for me. But it never, you know, like it didn't work for me that way. Because I was looking for someone out there to be me. And the only one who could be me is me. And the only way to find out who I really am is to practice it like we all do with some sort of morning routine, regular study of this stuff. Study is just, I love it. I love reading these books. It's not study like forcing myself to.
No.
It's like just finding interest in things that interest you and then really like pursuing it with a whole heart and letting yourself come to your own conclusions and seeing what you find.
Well, here, I got to say something. Because when I'm in that concerned, when my brain gets into concern about things, I could really feel that I'm not my real self.
Yes.
I'm like this, not me.
Right.
And for a long time, I didn't know that was not me.
Right.
So to feel better, I would try to anesthetize it in different ways.
Right.
So this morning, right before I did that little 3-step process, I did my readings and then I jot down my little positive thing that comes to me in my little to-do book. And I wrote, show day. I live by faith, not force. Because this sums up all the readings I was doing.
Yeah.
And I wrote, I decide from joy, not fear. Because when I'm in concern, because I was thinking about looking into things, looking into different dealerships. Like all that was deciding from fear, not joy. Miracles are happening as I let go of concern. I become myself again. Because that fear is not myself. And it's funny because when I was new to this, I wrote years ago, that's why it was pointed out, if you kill yourself now, you'd be killing the wrong person.
Wow.
That was big in the military rehabilitation center.
Whoa.
They would say, if you kill yourself now, you'll be killing the wrong person. And they also said that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That kept me and my brother from killing ourselves. Because years later, I told him that when I was shared with me, and then he shared with me like years and years later. He goes, man, I thank God you shared that with me because that really helped me not think I should end it. Because we were on our own and lost. And what's the point? Why are we even here?
Yeah.
No one cares about us. You know, it's not like we had mommies or daddies around. And so this really saved my ass. And now I could see when I'm in that concerned mode, it feels real, but it's not really me. It's like this different personality takes over.
Yeah, it's those old beliefs that have been implanted in the subconscious mind somewhere, trying to push us around and take us away from our good. But speaking of moving toward our good, Glenn, we thought this was the perfect day for you to join us because you shared some great news with us from your own life recently, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the shift that's gone on in your life recently.
I was working for CSU and I've been there for 24 years and
wait, tell people what that is. They might not know it's CSU.
California State University.
I know you guys love your acronyms.
And after I came back from the pandemic, it didn't feel the same. And it's, it felt like it was time to move on, and it took me a little while to make a decision about that. But I really prayed about it. I consulted my wife, I consulted friends, and I just something came around where they were offered a buyout, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I'm going to retire. I'm 56. I'm not 65, and there's some things I want to do, like make documentaries, and while I'm relatively uh, younger. And so I'm pursuing my dreams, and I'm so blessed to have a wife that is got my back, and she's totally encouraged me to do this, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited about it. So I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I've made short films. I've never made a full-length documentary before, but I'm just showing up and asking for help along the way. I'm just showing up and asking for help along the way,
Yeah.
and I'm just doing the next right thing. So.
What were the steps along in the process of like making the decision to retire? Were you, I know the answer, but how were you using these tools that we talk about to help you move through this process?
Yeah, what were some of the fears or the stories you were telling yourself to hold you back?
Oh, there's a few. Like, you're not going to make any money. You're gonna be broke. You're going to be a burden on your wife, and but I have a pension. I got money coming in. I got benefits. And so those are just some of the stories. Like what if you fail? Your wife's going to see her sitting at your computer, and she's going to be working, and so those are some of the stories. But the truth is, every day I show up and I've been doing research, and I'm really excited about the research. And there's something you said on your show last week, and the world's job is to distract me, and my job is to not get distracted. I don't know if I remember saying that last week, but
Yeah.
so I've been trying to implement that as well. And
Yeah. So how did you make it through that without giving into all those fears? What were the things that helped you move through?
um, I'll be honest with you. When I was at work, I just was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I just couldn't wait to go home and start working on my documentary research.
Right.
And it was just the more I went to my job, I was just like, I don't want to be. I love the people; they're great people. It's a great place to work. But for me, I just didn't want to be there anymore. And when they gave that buyout, I was just like, all right, I'm going for it. My wife was like, go for it. My friends were like, go for it. So that's what, it just
But
really fell into place. So many things in my life, when it was the time to do it, it fell into place. Like moving out to California, I prayed for a sign when I was upstate New York. I got a sign. I ran into a guy from Berkeley, California. I'm like, that's a sign. I'm
yeah.
going.
Now, what came first? I think I know, but I just want our audience to be clear. The offer for a buyout or the decision that I don't want to be doing, I really want to just be doing my documentary work full time. Which came first? Them offering you the package or your desire to move up and out?
Well, the buyout. If the buyout hadn't came, I was only going to work for maybe another year or two more. But because I really want to just work on this documentary, and
Yeah.
so I don't know if that answers the question, but that's
Well,
the
what I'm
way it
hearing
worked.
is this, is
Well,
that you were already having, by making those statements, I don't want to be here anymore. You're already deciding.
Because I'm thinking, because I know I already decided in November I was leaving Time Warner in July. And then in April, they offered me a severance and a layoff. So I'm just wondering, were you already at that point where you're going, I wish I could just be working on my documentary full time, but still have, like, was that decision already brewing? And then, funniest thing, they're offering an early retirement package.
Yes, exactly. That's
So
exactly.
that's how, because that's how this works. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Because I had the assumption that's what was happening. Because when we make the decision, the subconscious mind brings out like the perfect way to say, all right, go. Like I was ready to go leave without a severance or anything. I was just like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm not going to be doing this anymore come July. And then 3 months prior to my birthday, oh, you're getting laid off, but here we're going to give you a year's pay. I was like, holy shit, calling Mike Dugan. Yep, you're right. This stuff's amazing. Because I was already in that mode of like you. I was already getting excited to be doing something else.
Right.
And I was already kind of like you. I wasn't doing a bad job. I was doing a good job. I liked everyone there. But it lost its challenge. It was just like showing up for paycheck and benefits. And I know I can't do that. I can't just do that because I'm dying.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like when you talk about like when you were helping make that movie The Rock, and I think you're painting light bulbs, you're just like, I'm just gonna do the next thing. I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yes.
You remember that. Of course, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's time.
Gotta trust.
You've been inspiring me, and I've been doing that same thing, like, because in order to push through something that doesn't feel good, you got to really be pushing down another voice, and for some reason rationalizing that other voice, you don't have time for it. But I think there's power in just it's between me and God. It's between you and God. I think there's power in just admitting to the universe. That's why I'm loving the fact that Emma Curtis Hopkins is saying that your good is your God. And because it's something that Darrell and I were talking about this before the show. It motivates you. You don't have to try to be motivated by your documentary. You don't have to try.
No.
When it's our good, and it's really liberating for me to hear it framed in this way, like, because sometimes I can misinterpret like the virtuous suffering as God or something like that, just because we've been. Yeah, it was normal in my reality when I was growing up, or like before I was thinking.
Even the whole world kind of loves to do that, like
present that, agreed.
Oh, he sacrificed all the good he could have had. What a saint!
Yeah,
it's garbage.
And then when you realize, as I realized that my good, like on principle, is God, is coming from God, and I can trust it, then it's not being irresponsible at all. It's actually being irresponsible to ignore that good and ignore that calling. And this is what I was saying, it's never too late to end a debate, because I've had this inner debate going on for a long time, and I feel it, and it doesn't matter, because the debaters are going to say, no, you can never, we were saying it's like people like corporations who don't want to make real decisions love meetings, because it feels like we're moving toward a decision, but we're not really moving toward a decision. So it's the perfect place for fear to pretend that it's doing something.
Yes.
But like, that's the beauty. That's why I love the ministry we have here online radio. Like with this is with funniest thing is, we don't have to meet with a board to decide. We know what we know, and then we just move forward with it. And as that knowing evolves, we share that. We are not stuck in the mire of then hoping someone else, for some god awful reason, is either going to say yes or no. It's too late. We already know. It's time to move on. So this show right here just keeps evolving and expanding, and there's no one to ask. And I feel like the more we live this way, where we're not looking outside of ourselves for our truth. And I think that the world is evolving beyond those old structures too. Like what I see, like churches, and why they have certain churches like have trouble getting people in their doors, is because it's like the genie is out of the bottle, as Darrell's been saying a lot. Like, we know the genie lives within us. It's time to let it out of the bottle. And we want to be around cutting, like modern, like really in the moment, right here and now, thinking that allows us to be inspired and be creative. And really that's what the founding fathers had in mind in the first place. We got to get outside these boxes. There's something totally different happening. Anyone who follows like politics and stuff, it's like you'll go crazy if you try to make sense of all of that, at least for me, and it feels scary. But what and I really had to admit this, and I had a good chat with Kirky, our friend, and he gave me a kick up the stairs, and Darrell, and but Kirky one day like really had to like kick it to me, because I had to admit it was embarrassing. Like, this is really like scaring me and stuff. So it's never too late to end the debate, though. I had to admit it and clear it out. And then this week I realized I'm not cheering for any party or any candidate. I'm cheering for God. What is God
Amen.
doing in all of this? Because that's totally different than anything you're going to hear on any news networks or anything else. So my news network is to tune into these principles and bless everyone involved and love everyone involved and wonder, what's God doing that no one in these networks and stuff is seeing? There's something totally different, and it speaks to us directly when we open ourselves to it. And that's the amazing thing.
Me and my wife Sarah are going to have an election party, but no one's allowed to talk about the election. The theme of the party is going to be it's all good no matter what happens. And
Yes.
and we're just going to have a party that way.
Yes, that's it. That is the party that we're talking about. That is the show. That's how we end the debate, is to say it's all good no matter what happens. These conditions don't define whether or not life is good. And when we feel that way, amazing things happen. When we recognize that to be true, and we all have to get over ourselves in order to do it, no matter who you are. You have leanings this way, that way, that you're trying to get sucked into. I know I do. So I have to constantly get over that small sense of self and reinvest in this belief that love is at play. Every person is worthy of love. Every person is an expression of the divine, and see it through that lens. And then we start to see something totally different happening.
Well, and it comes down to, let there be peace on earth, but let it begin with me.
Yes.
And if I'm getting in people's faces about who they should or shouldn't be voting for, well, then I'm not part of the solution.
That's right.
I'm part of the problem.
That's right.
So if we all just work on being part of the solution, which is just to be a center of peace and love, and express that, well, then everything's always going to work out well.
Yes.
But once I get off track because of what I'm hearing and I'm hungry, all things, nothing good can happen. It's not a feel-good attribute to be in that mindset, because it's all just concern amped up to panic.
Yes.
It's like they turned the dial up to 10 on the concern, to now you don't even know who you are, and you definitely don't feel like yourself. I know I don't when I'm in that type of atmosphere, mental atmosphere.
It's so true.
I want to share something. I don't know. It's kind of, if I'm in left field, tell me and I'll shut up. But
well, we're probably out there with you, buddy. So lay it on us.
Yeah.
About 20 years, I've always been into history, and Darrell mentioned the Freemasons before, and I joined the Freemason. I've been a Freemason for about 20 years now, about 20, and a lot of the founding fathers were Freemasons.
Yeah.
And when I went through the Freemasons, I got raised with a guy who's Sikh. So it's about it's about just believing in a higher power. So and not about putting a label on that higher power. So this guy took his degree on the Sikh Bible. I can't remember what it's called, but I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
And in the lodge that I belong to, we have people that are Muslim, people that are obviously Christian, Jewish, there's gay, straight. And I love that melting pot.
Yes.
And that's in a lot of our founding fathers were Freemasons. And I don't know if it's exactly that way, but that's the ideal of Freemasonry.
Yes. No, you're not left field. And that's why this false assumption that often gets thrown around is, well, the founding fathers were right-wing Christian white guys. No, they weren't. These guys did not like the idea of organized institutional religion. They left the Church of England. They didn't like this oppressive, these ideas, the dogma. And that's where it was exactly what you're saying, that this was going to be a place where you can choose the God of your understanding.
Yes.
And we're going to believe that, and this helps with elections. That's why it says, the reminder is, in God we trust, that our leaders are not despots or monarchy or the authoritative voice, that we keep our consciousness focused on a higher power.
Yeah.
And knowing that that's permeating everything. It's just like and we're always unfinished. We're always got to continue to grow and seek. And it's a never ending optimistic process. It's not drudgery. And that's why on the seal of the United States, on the back, is the unfinished pyramid. It represents that we have a solid foundation when we apply these principles in our lives, but it's never completed. We're always developing. And the all-seeing eye, the top, is there as we can trust in this all-seeing eye, our intuitive, the God within, to continue to guide us towards that healthy completion of the symbolism is the pyramid, and of course there's other things in there. It's 13 levels representing the 13 original colonies, but there's so much. Annuit coeptis, which is on that seal, means God favors our bold enterprise, trusting this.
Yes.
God favors this when we step out to do something new. Just like in the Statue of Liberty, she's stepping forward, which symbolizes our true security always lies in adventure, not in staying put or being taken care of by, a parent or authoritative figure. It really is. If we step out, spirit meets every action. It's amazing. It just gets, the more you learn beyond the hearsay of what the news may say, or what just one blurb or quote says about history, just like we said about earlier in the show, the more you go, holy cow, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the good it's being shared with us everywhere.
Yeah.
And reinforces this stuff, these principles.
Stay on page 6.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's in the Bible as well that when we get judgmental, God's likely going to use the very thing we're judging for good also. So we have to let go of our judgment. And this is like, if you're so convinced that Biden's the devil, God's probably got something from Biden that you need. If you're so convinced Trump is the devil, God's got something there. Like, this is how God works. This is not a popularity contest or anything. God is within every single person, and it will always be an opportunity to decide, do we want to be right or do we want to live in joy, which is the truth of who we are. And it's like, on some big, quote, big things, I really have to keep growing and letting go and expanding and going. And then I start laughing at myself, end the debate, stop taking myself so seriously. I have these principles. I know they work. And at the end of the day, I get so much more out of trusting in them than biting the hook of just getting inflamed about this person or that person. Yeah, especially when those two people often, when they're not on camera, like putting each other down, they're on a jet together, laughing and drinking champagne and a lot of these volunteer things,
boasting about their investments,
and
to each other,
and sharing tips. So
I donate, like you said last week, so I say stay on page 6 because would you say last week the page 1 is all the bad stuff?
It's always the bad stuff, but page 6, all of a sudden you go, wow, it's not so bad.
Right,
life's not so bad.
Yeah. So, all right, Glenn Brewster, thank you for coming and inspiring everyone.
Is he going to read our reading?
Let's get the reading to wrap this up, and then we have a story and a song. So let's hear what
food.
And then food.
All right. Reading Divine Appointment by Joyce Kramer. I accept my true place in life, and I am ready to receive my good. Are you prepared to keep your divine appointment? God is ever ready to offer you wonderful opportunities, new insight, and a real promotion in living. Spirit has for each of us an assignment which, if accepted, will bring peace and happiness beyond anything we could possibly imagine. Sometimes we are afraid to open the door of truth. Let us release all thought of fear, all memories of the past, and turn towards the light. Once we are aware of the good which is already ours, we will wonder why we waited so long to keep our divine appointment.
Wow.
We will become more than we ever thought we could be. God awaits each of us. Shall we make now the time to receive it? Jesus said these things, then lifting up his eyes to heaven, he said, Father, the time has come. John 17:1. Darrell and Ed love you.
The time has come.
And God always says now.
Oh, we got a story
It's our
about
job is to say, end the debating society and say now. God says now. No matter what those debating societies in our head, God always says now.
I can't wait for that lunch bell.
Oh man, I'm so hungry. All right, Glenn, anything you want to throw in before we shove off here?
Just a plug for the Oath of Manifestation. Every morning we read, every night we read it before we go to bed. Oath of Manifestation.
Oh,
Oath
yes.
of Manifestation.
You know that. We shared it on the show.
Yes,
Yep.
Fantastic. Great. I love it. All right, so this is an interesting story we found in the Alameda Times. It says, by the time Glenn arrived at the concert, it was halfway over. His friend asked.
Why are you so late?
Glenn replied,
I had to toss a coin to decide between going to church and going to the concert.
his friend asked.
How long could that have taken?
Glenn shrugged.
Well, I had to toss it 14 times.
Oh my gosh.
That's another thing. Lori sent me a quote. If you have trouble making a decision, flip a coin, because there's something that happens when the coin's in the air that you start thinking about how you hope it would turn out. That's the answer.
Right. So anyway, let's go out on a. There's a man named Louis Jordan. I forget Louis Jordan. I don't know what year this song was from.
You could let the background music play because these mics are so they'll be able to sing along.
Oh, I can sing it along.
Oh, you
Let's
can?
just do it.
Okay, because I don't know.
Hey, everybody!
Whoa.
Let's have some fun.
Wait, I just.
You only live but once, and when you're dead, you're done. So
Woo!
let the good times roll.
That startled me.
Let the good times roll.
I don't care.
If you're young or you're old,
You-
everybody let the good times roll.
Oh, we don't need that part. Darrell and Ed, love you. Visit
We're gonna start again in a
darrellanded.com.
minute. Watch out.
Visit darrellanded.com. And thanks for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Don't sit there mumbling
Woo!
or talking trash. If you want to have a ball, you gotta go out and spend some cash and let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Let's just go right here. Don't care if you're young or old. Everybody let the good times roll.
Yeah. Who sings that so they can look it up?
Louis Jordan.
Louis Jordan, let the good times roll.
Oh!
Are you ready?
We're out of here. Glenn Brewster, thank you.
Did you
Thank
start
you.
getting hungry, Ed?
I'm starving, man.
I'm starving. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Thank
guys.
you.
Sarah,
We
said
love
hi.
you. We'll
Bye-bye.
talk to you later.